Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the newest Shadow Legendary Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Shadow Groudon. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, MakiDK, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Shadow Groudon is going to be a pure Ground-type Pokemon with the moveset of Mudshot and the double legacy moves Fire Punch and Precipice Blades. This is going to be an extreme glass cannon in the Open Great League. It's not going to be able to take any hits whatsoever, but if it can land charge attacks, it's going to do monster damage. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Hopping into the first match, picking up a slightly negative lead, Mantine into Cresselia. Although considering there's the Shadow Groudon and the Annihilape in the back, this is honestly kind of where you want to see Cresselia, as Cresselia is going to be able to chip away at the HP bar with the Moonblast, and unfortunately, Mantine is forced to go for Aerial Ace. Now, Aerial Ace, not a bad move per se, but definitely not a move you want to rely on in neutral situations, especially when going up against an extremely bulky mon like Cresselia. Aerial Ace number 2 is going to connect. Moonblast is not going to knock out, so we are going to see a confident no-shield from Mantine. Moonblast is going to connect. Disaster strikes. We do see an attack drop, and now that forces a switch into the Annihilape. Annihilape is going to be shielding up as Cresselia ends up baiting with a Grass Knot. Annihilape continuing to farm, building up to the back-to-back Night Slashes, and that is a CMP tie, which means if the opponent wants to force a shield, they just have to shield themselves. But this is going to set up Annihilape for a pretty nice counter farm down, and Annihilape with energy is deadly. Opponent does not want to let that happen, so instead, they're going to switch out the Cresselia and send in Shadow Whiscash. Whiscash gets baited with the Night Slash, going for Night Slash number 2 and winning the charge attack priority tie. This Night Slash is going to connect before a potential Scald debuff can be applied, which is very nice damage. The Scald is going to connect. That just picks up the knockout. In comes Mantine. Mantine going for the Ice Beam. Ice Beam is going to get Whiscash low. The switch into the Groudon, but the Whiscash survives on 1 HP, makes the Mud Bomb. I have never seen a neutral Mud Bomb do that kind of damage. In comes Lantern. Watch for the catch, and the patience is perfect. Waiting the turn, farming down the Cresselia. In comes the Lantern. Lantern gets absolutely shredded by Shadow Precipice Blades, and that's a good game. Picking up a nice lead in the next match, Mantine into Azumarill. Again, considering what's in back, it's very fortunate to catch the Azumarill on the lead, as Mantine typically can do quite well here. Mantine is just going to spam out these Aerial Aces, able to significantly outpace the Azumarill, but Azumarill's charge attacks are going to be doing quite a bit more damage. The Play Rough will connect. Looks like Mantine will be able to tank a second Play Rough, but not very well. It is going to be pretty low on health. Mantine going for Aerial Ace number 2. Now it's the Azumarill starting to get pretty low. Azumarill is going to be hit with a third Aerial Ace, and this will be getting the Azumarill deep into the red health. Azumarill again with the no shield, forced to fire off energy or risk Mantine making it to another Aerial Ace. The Play Rough is going to connect, trying to snipe with the Annihilate, but the opponent has the same idea. They try for a snipe with a Shadow Dragonair, so it ends up being a simultaneous safe switch, Shadow Dragonair versus the Night Slash Annihilate. Opponent is going to overfarm with the Dragonair, going for the Aqua Tail just before the Night Slash is reached. Annihilate committing the shield, looking to apply the pressure. This Night Slash will KO unless the opponent shields. They are going to commit the shield. The opponent is going to get the farm down, and now in comes the Mantine, and the opponent could not get the farm down. The Aerial Ace looked like it would have been reached. They go for the Body Slam, and now Groudon in the 1-0s, and there's an Abomasnow lurking. Opponent tries for the catch. The catch is unsuccessful. The Groudon just lost like 2/3 of its HP there, but it leaves with the Fire Punch. That picks up the one-hit KO onto Abomasnow, and this mod is genuinely just hilarious. We see a terrible lead in the next match, Mantine into Bastiodon, the save switch into Annihilape, and the opponent is going to respond with a Shadow Dragonair. The nice thing is Annihilape can force 2 shields here if the opponent wants to keep switch. And with 2 shields, hopefully, if you get both the shields from the opponent, then the Shadow Groudon can do well in the back, because as we've seen, Groudon can take no hits whatsoever, but this thing can output some wicked damage, and the opponent is going to double shield for switch. That's honestly quite nice. That is very okay. Oh, choosing to send in the Groudon instead. So just going to go for the one shield farm with the Groudon, wanting an energy advantage. In the back, it's a Shadow Victory Bell. Look at the Razor Leafs go. But Groudon makes it to the Fire Punch. Fire Punch one-shots the Victory Bell. Back in comes the Bastiodon. Bastiodon trying to make it to a charge attack or get the farm down, but they get neither. Shadow Precipice Blades picks up the KO onto Bastiodon, and that's a good game. Moving into the next match, Mantine on the lead, once again leading into Sableye. This is a pretty okay lead. Typically, you would prefer to be the Sableye here. Farming up energy, opponent. Oh, did they just save switch a Bastiodon? That is like the #1 rule of GBL. You can never save switch a Bastiodon, man. Bastiodon is an awful save switch. In comes the Shadow Groudon. Goodbye to that Bastiodon. Oh my goodness. Back in comes the Sableye. They're going for the foul play. Does foul play just KO here? Oh my goodness. This thing is so frail. I cannot get over how glassy this mon is. This is absolutely absurd. Which, by the way, the Groudon is at like, I think it's 1440 something CP. It actually cannot power up anymore without getting over 1500. So it looks like it could be powered up, but unfortunately it cannot be powered up any more than it already is. In the back is the Azumarill, and this is a problem. The Annihilate doesn't really have anywhere to run. In comes the Annihilate. Annihilate going to be outpaced by the Azumarill, letting it through. Azumarill goes for an Ice Beam, and that's a massive misplay by the opponent. Even if they don't have Play Rough, they should not be baiting in this situation. They should be going for the harder hitting nuke. They shield a bait, and there's the boost. And suddenly, this game might not be so unwinnable. The boost coming at the perfect time. Annihilate continuing to farm and going for the Shadow Ball. This is a boosted Shadow Ball. The Azumarill is going to get knocked out. In comes the Sableye, and the opponent baiting into the boost ends up letting the win con appear out of nowhere. My goodness. We see a very familiar lead in the next match, Mantine into Cresselia. Again, not a bad spot to be overall, considering that the back Pokemon get absolutely shredded by Cresselia. So Mantine can just play this out, soft lose it, and then hopefully with Cresselia out of the way, either Annihilate or the Shadow Groudon can do well in the endgame. They're running Future Sight. That does so much damage to the Mantine. Mantine very close to 2 more Aerial Aces, but Cresselia just does not care. Cresselia can just shrug off that damage. Mantine is going to let this through. It is going to be another Future Sight, and down goes Mantine. In comes the Annihilate. Annihilate could have gone for a Night Slash there, but instead choosing to let this through as the opponent did not farm up to a Future Sight. That is just going to be the Grass Knot. Annihilate looking to massively overfarm, and at the back-to-back Night Slashes here, Night Slash into Cresselia will pick up the KO. What do they have in the back? They have Skarmory, and this is honestly not amazing. Going for the bait, you just have to hope the opponent makes a mistake and shields, and they do. They do shield. That's going to allow Annihilate. Oh, it doesn't allow Annihilate to get to the Shadow Ball. Forced to settle for the Night Slash. The opponent double shields. They lose count of the energy on the Annihilate. They double shield, and now Shadow Groudon. It has to be careful that it doesn't get farmed down here. But you have to imagine that up a shield and up energy is the main spot that Shadow Groudon will be able to put in some work. The Fire Punch connects, dealing heavy damage to the Skarmory. The question is, can Groudon potentially Mudshot down? Opponent goes for a Brave Bird. In comes Whiscash. Is Whiscash going to get fully one-shot here? This is a Shadow Precipice Blades. Let's see the damage. Nearly picking up the one-hit KO. But the Whiscash is too bulky. Mud Bomb knocks out the Groudon, and unfortunately, it's a heartbreaking defeat. Moving to the next match, picking up an incredibly positive lead, Mantine into Gligar. Gligar would be a real hassle for the backlines. This is an incredibly good spot to be. And considering that if a Gligar's staying in, they're probably core broken, I really like the decision to bait here, as it puts a lot of pressure onto the opponent because an Ice Beam would simply one-shot. So the opponent is now down a shield. This next Aerial Ace does not knock out, so I do like this decision to no shield as well. And now you can just full send the Ice Beam. An Ice Beam, this is double super effective damage. It's easily going to KO unless they double shield, and they do double shield. Gligar can't get the farm down they try for, but the Aerial Ace will be reached. This does not knock out, but it will potentially put them into a range where you can just punch it down with the Annihilate. Annihilate not going to be threatened by one Aerial Ace, choosing to let this through. The opponent will make a second one. Oh my goodness, just saving 2 shields for the Shadow Groudon. You have to hope there's no fast move pressure in the back, and there is. In comes the Shadow Poliwrath, and the poor Groudon, its HP absolutely getting obliterated by these counters. Precipice Blades picks up the one-shot. What do they have in back? And the win con has arrived. Registeel has no fast move pressure whatsoever as lock-ons just do nothing here. They go for a zap, hoping for a debuff, but debuff or not, it's not going to save you from Shadow Precipice Blades. Precipice Blades picks up the KO and overfarm to leave with the Fire Punch. Very nice energy management. This thing is just a crazy, crazy Pokemon. The damage it outputs is unreal, but honestly, like, a light breeze would knock it over. We've got the battle of the water flying types in the next match, Mantine versus Pelipper. Pelipper has definitely fallen out of favor in the Open Great League, as when people want the water flyers, they are trusting more in Mantine. Mantine is going to let this through, as a Hurricane would not knock out. The opponent baits with a Weather Ball, and that's going to be a bit painful. Mantine building up to the Ice Beam, going for the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace does get shielded up by the Pelipper. Pelipper, again, has to go for a Hurricane if they want the knockout, so just going to let this through. The opponent needs to stop baiting. What are they doing? They keep baiting. Mantine keeps calling it. They're forced to give up both shields. The opponent just in absolute shambles, and now Mantine, Mantine's never going to shield this ever. That still doesn't knock out. In comes Whiscash. Whiscash unable to get the mud shot down before the 1 HP Aerial Ace will be fired. In comes Annihilate. Annihilate doesn't get knocked out by a Scald, but may want to shield something. Choosing to let it go, the Scald is going to connect, and it looks like able to make the Shadow Ball here, and the Shadow Ball should just knock out the Whiscash. Actually, yes, it does. Back in comes the Pelipper. Pelipper firing off energy, but I don't think a Weather Ball KOs here. It barely does not. In the back is Gligar, and Gligar would normally have an absolute field day going up against the Shadow Groudon, but the opponent, they kept shielding in that lead matchup and kept having baits no shielded. So down 2 shields, their Gligar is not going to be able to win this game. A Shadow Groudon is going to be able to go for a Fire Punch. Going to need another Fire Punch. Oh, and to add insult to injury, the catch onto the Mantine. Say it ain't so. Oh, a little bit of bad manners here. Going for the double resisted Precipice Blades. The Precipice Blades nearly picking up the KO. The opponent's seen enough, and they resign the match. Mantine into Mantine in the next match. So we have a battle of the Manta Rays. And Mantine, again, considering the backline, you really want to see Mantine here, because Mantine would completely obliterate the backline. Aerial Ace gets no shielded, returning fire with his own Aerial Ace, but the uncomfortable thing is now you know the opponent wins charge attack priority, which can make this lead matchup quite uncomfortable. Going for the harder hitting Ice Beam. Ice Beam will not knock out, but it will get the opponent low. But now the opponent can go for double Aerial Ace and win the lead. Aerial Ace is going to connect, and they will go for Aerial Ace number 2, but this should set up a potential Annihilate counter farm down, hopefully before they can make it to an Aerial Ace. Annihilate just does get that farm down. Opponent, oh, this is not good. They have a Shadow Gligar in the back. Annihilate farming up to the Shadow Ball, going to bait with the Night Slash, and gets the shield from the Gligar. That's very, very good. The opponent is going to be firing off the Aerial Ace to grab the shield back, as Annihilate is able to make it to a Shadow Ball, and Annihilate forces the charge attack priority tie, going for the Night Slash bait. The opponent double shields, and I think you just try and have to let the Shadow Groudon sweep. Shadow Groudon is going to need multiple Fire Punches to knock out here, and as we can see, oh no, these wing attacks just do so much damage. This thing cannot take a hit. Groudon forced to use the final shield. This Aerial Ace would probably come close to just KOing. In the back, it's the Shadow Poliwrath. Oh no, makes it to the Precipice Blades, but the Groudon's on like 1 HP. It cannot survive the wing attacks to make it to the Fire Punch. Groudon, yeah, you just don't even throw the mud shot there. You just let yourself get KO'd, because that game is over. Moving into the next match, we have honestly what feels like a relic from a forgotten time. We have a Nidoqueen on our screen here. Nidoqueen just going straight for the Poison Fang. And Poison Fang, Mantine's really not going to care. Mantine building up past the Ice Beam, baiting with the Aerial Ace, trying to grab a shield from the opponent, and the bait is successful. Mantine, oh, we see the switch out, saving all that energy and catching the Poison Fang onto Annihilate, where it is going to be resisted. In comes Trevenant, and baiting out Trevenant is extremely important here. Annihilate can shield and make it to a Shadow Ball to force a shield from the Trevenant, and that's exactly what Annihilate is going to do. Wanting to guarantee the knockout or the final shield, opponent is going to commit the shield and farm down with the Trevenant. Trevenant is going to be met with energy from the Mantine, but Mantine plays to a CMP tie that it does not win. The Seed Bomb, thankfully does not knock out the Mantine on 1 HP there, able to hang on. And now you still have the shield for the Shadow Groudon, and there's a Marowak on my screen. Marowak, again, a Pokemon, I would definitely call it a relic from a forgotten time. The opponent is going to send in the Nidoqueen, Groudon farming up to 100 energy, and this is just going to be all she wrote as the Precipice Blades picks up the KO. In comes the Marowak, and Marowak loses charged attack priority, and Shadow Groudon picks up back-to-back KOs with Precipice Blades to take the game. All in all, Shadow Groudon's ceiling as far as Open Great League play goes is definitely as a meme Pokemon at best. However, it looks like an absurdly fun meme Pokemon. Like this thing, if you go up against anything that has even slight fast attack pressure, it's just going to get completely melted. And if it's down a shield, it's basically going to lose to everything in the game. So it's not a Pokemon to use if you're looking to gain Elo. But if you're just looking to have some fun with it, like if you've already hit your goal, let's say later in the season after you already hit your Elo goal, then it does look like quite a bit of fun, to be honest. I haven't built mine yet. I did get it from Giovanni, and I took away Frustration. I haven't invested the 2 Elite TMs yet, because honestly, my Elite TM stash is getting a little bit low at the current moment. But if I'm ever in a spot where I have a bunch of Elite TMs sitting around, I think I might end up building one of these. It's not going to be a consistent mon to get wins by any means, but it just looks really, really fun getting to land those Precipice Blades and seeing, even in neutral matchups, some extremely bulky Pokemon just get absolutely shredded. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys, always so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.